Hey everyone, I believe we are live. So, happy Monday to you all. Today was obviously an unexpected day with Bitfarms coming out with news that they fired their CEO and the CEO was suing the company. So, I think a lot of you guys were a little bit shocked by this, kind of like I was as well this morning. I woke up and I started seeing on Twitter all the stuff happening with, the CEO basically suing the company, them firing the co-owner of the company, or the co-creator, I guess. We'll look at it. But he's taken over as the president and the CEO for the time being. And they've what's the word I'm looking for? They've sped up the process to find a new CEO. I keep saying that maybe Ben might be a good candidate for them. We'll see which way they go, who they get, and all that stuff. So we'll get into all that. Obviously, Bitcoin had a good day today as well. Miners did really well in the morning, not so much during the end of the day. Unfortunately, a lot of the miners kind of gave back some of the profits that they had in the morning, right? So we'll take a look at all that's going on there. And we'll take a look at Terawulf. Terawulf had actually pretty good numbers here today. I think with them, scale fixes a lot of the issues that they have right now, but they're obviously very cost conscious. Their cost of mining is pretty good as well. We'll look at all those numbers there for them. But the big thing for them is obviously to grow forward. So we'll get into all that. We'll look at obviously Bitcoin charts as well, miners, see how they did today, and then we'll get into your guys' Q&A here. So as always, you guys know the drill. Not financial advice for entertainment only. This is my full disclosure here, and I'll provide you guys with my full disclosure for Bitfarms as far as how many shares I own and all that stuff. But if you enjoy this type of content, the like button, subscribe, helps me out tremendously. And let's take a look at some Bitcoin charts here. That's what's going on with the network, things like that. And then we'll get into some other things with Bitcoin and miners as well. So looking at the network hash rate here, recently we've started looking at this because it's becoming more important for the miners to, their profitability is based largely on where the network hash rate is, hash price, all those things. So we're kind of looking at those things as well every day now, just kind of keeping track, see where things are going right now. And we can see the network hash rate on the 7-day average has come back down to 577 exahash. If we look on the daily here, it's been down and up. It was down to 545 exahash. It's back up to 607 exahash. If we look at the 30-day average, that's kind of still down a little bit here as well to 614. We're still above 600 nonetheless, right? And then if we look at the Bitcoin transaction fees per day, those have inched up a little bit here today as well to 26.45. We were down to 21, right? So, I mean, it's kind of the average. We're kind of in the 20s, between 20 and 30 or something like that right now on it. And then the hash price here, we saw it obviously come up today as Bitcoin prices went up as well. That has an impact on the hash price. So right now we are sitting at approximately $50 per petahash per day per miner, basically, when you look at it that way. So it's not too bad. It's definitely half of what we had pre-halving event, but that was to be expected here as well. Then we look at Bitcoin here. Bitcoin had a pretty good day. Wow, we had a really quick wick down here, but today it was up actually 2.41% on the day. We are obviously kind of in this channel between like 63,700 and 61,000, really. I mean, that's kind of where we've been trading here in the last couple of days. It obviously had a wick here. I want to see this wick here that we've had here on the 1 hour. Wow. Okay. So that just happened recently here. We just bounced back up quickly. Wow. Okay. That was weird. When did that happen? Within the last probably couple minutes. Yeah. Within the last half an hour that happened. Check out this wick here. It came all the way down to 61,000. What was that? 61,435, and it came back up. That's one of those hammers that you like to see because that's kind of bullish, I think, right? So maybe we'll continue going up here going forward, or we'll see if we retest the 61,000 mark on it. But yeah, that's wild there that happened within the last half an hour or so. Okay, miners, like I said, the miners did pretty good in the morning, right? They were positive. A lot of these guys were up 4, 5, 6, 7, 8% in the morning hours, and then they just started to go down south. I don't know if people were taking profits or what was going on there, but we still had some miners that finished up in the green today. We had obviously Argo up being 8.53%, Digital was up 2.79%, DMG was up 2.8%, IREN up 1.25%, Mara just barely 0.58%, Mawson 8.8%, Riot 3.26%, and Wolf being up 0.45% towards the end of the day here. So that's kind of the way the miners really stacked up today. It wasn't a great day. It wasn't a really bad day either. Given that Bitcoin actually was going up today, I kind of thought that maybe we would end up on a more positive note on the miners, but it is what it is. So that's kind of where we are at right now, right? Short term, we're going to see price volatility, pain, and things like that until Bitcoin starts going above 70,000, 80,000 in the future, right? We don't know if it's going to be next week, next month, in the next couple of months, but we know it's going to happen eventually. It's just a matter of time and being patient, I think, enough to hold on until then. But that's it for that. Let's take a look at the stories that we do have here. Obviously, the big one here is obviously on Bitfarms. So Bitfarms announces acceleration of previously announced termination of CEO and provides update on new CEO appointment. We didn't get any updates. They just said that they're getting close to finding somebody here. So Geoff Murphy terminated as CEO and Nicholas Bonta appointed as on interim basis. CEO executive search nearing completion. Okay, so that would be good there. So today announces that Geoff Murphy had been continuing as president and chief executive officer pending an executive search for replacement as announced on March 25th. So March, April, I mean, we're going 2 months now, has been terminated effective immediately. Mr. Murphy also no longer serves as director of the company. On May 10th, 2024, Mr. Murphy filed a statement of claim in the Superior Court of Ontario against the company, claiming damages for breach of contract, wrongful dismissal, and aggravated and punitive damages in the amount of $27 million. Don't know what those would be, aggravated and punitive damages. Maybe we'll find out in the court filings. Those of you guys that are in Canada, if you guys can look up the record of what's in there, maybe, that would be great and share with us. I'm not very fluent in what's going on with Canada's systems and things like that. So any of you that have access to that would be great to see. Also, the company believes that the claims are without merit and intends to defend itself vigorously. Of course, they're going to do that, right? Nicholas Bonta, chairman and co-founder of the company, has been appointed interim president and chief executive officer and will lead the company until the executive search is completed and his successor is appointed. The company has also announced that the CEO executive search is nearing completion and that the company will be appointing a new CEO in the next several weeks. Several weeks leads me to believe it's going to be in the next 2 to 3 weeks, right? 1 to 2, 3 weeks. If more than that, you're saying then in a month or so. But in the next several weeks, I'm guessing within the next 2 to 3 weeks, potentially. That would be good, right? We'll have to see who we get. We don't know who that's going to be. Obviously, I have my favorites or who I'd like to see in there. I'd like to see Ben getting in there. But we'll see who they actually pick out of the executive search and everything else. Okay, now as far as the lawsuit is filed against the company by Mr. Jeffrey, I'm guessing that's probably going to go into litigation. They're going to probably settle on some amount. Don't know what amount that might be, but it might be where they settle like at maybe 2.7 million, 5.4 million, or whatever it might be, a percentage of what he's actually asking for. And then at the end, also plead no contest or not guilty to anything, whatever it might be that term. I'm not a legal guy, but they're going to do that maybe, or they're just going to defend it all the way to the, all the way as much as they can, and maybe goes in front of a trial or a jury or however that's going to go work out in Canada. Obviously, probably the best thing would be to settle, get it done and over with quickly, and move on. Obviously, you don't want to prolong this any longer than you have to. Now, like I said, this was obviously a unexpected news event. We knew that the CEO was going to be going away, right? But we didn't know that there was obviously this kind of hostility, animosity between maybe the board members and the CEO currently. It seemed like things were going in a cordial way because what they reported back in February was that the current CEO was going to be helping out to find his replacement. So that made me believe that things were a little bit better and that maybe he was leaving the company for personal reasons, whatever those might have been. But seeing that it's now like this, maybe I'm thinking now it was maybe a power struggle between the CEO and the board as well. And I guess maybe Jeffrey lost that power struggle. So he's obviously being canned, ousted, terminated from his employment there. And we'll have to see who gets in there. Now, a lot of you guys on Discord were asking me, what do I think of all this? I think we knew about this. We didn't know about, obviously, the loss that's happened here. I still have, I'll be honest with you guys, I have 20,000 shares. I haven't been dollar cost averaging in since 2022, January. My average price right now is $1.40, right? So I'm still in the green on it. Not as much as I've been in the past, but I have dollar cost average into it a lot, and I have 20,000 shares in it right now. That I don't plan on doing anything with it right now until we see what actually happens here going forward. Big things that I'm looking for, obviously, is how will they execute in May, right? What is their hash rate going to be going forward? They're supposed to get to 10 exahash by the end of May. That's what their goal is. And then 12 exahash by the end of June, right? If they can continue to do those things and get to 21 exahash by the end of the year, I think things will be okay. Right now, we have obviously a lot of FUD, a lot of fear, a lot of uncertainty because of the CEO situation and things like that. But if that stuff gets kind of worked out and we get a really good CEO, I think maybe we might be getting close to the bottom on the stock price on this, at least right now. Now, Some of you guys have also asked, would I be buying more, right? So I've said this before that I wanted to get to a position, in Bitfarms, I had a position in mind that I wanted to get to, and that position was 20,000 shares. I have gotten to that. Now, if it falls below my average price of $1.40 something, right? So like $1.41, $1.42 or something like that. At that point, I will consider possibly dollar cost averaging some more into it. I wanted to dollar cost average into more into IREN. I do still have to pay my property taxes, so that's kind of putting a drag on me a little bit as far as how much I can invest. But I will be definitely taking a deep look into what I can and can't do, right? I don't want to put myself in a situation where I don't have cash as kind of like emergency plan in case something happens. So meaning refrigerator goes out or furnace goes out and then I'm cash strapped and I got to use credit cards and all that stuff, which I don't want to do. So I always want to have at least a little bit of emergency cash on hand. So I'll be looking into that, like I said, and if the opportunity is there to possibly dollar cost average in some more, I will do that, because the reason I'm really invested in them is because of their operations and their growth, right? Management has done actually a pretty good job up to this point, getting out of debt, fixing some of the issues that they did in the past. So for that reason, I saw this as an opportunity to where I think they could possibly do much better going forward. But obviously, we need to see operations improve. Well, not improve, but hash rate improve, really grow in the next month or two as well, and then see their continued improvement going into the end of the year as well to get to 21 exahash. Okay, but that is it for that one. We'll obviously get to you guys' Q&A here in a little bit as well, and we'll talk about all that stuff there if you guys have any questions on it. But let's get back into the news that we do have here, which is going to be obviously on Terawulf. Bitdeer also reported today as well. I don't have Bitdeer's numbers because their press release, and I didn't see it in the SEC website yet, at least as of like 5 o'clock this afternoon, that they actually provided the full financial results in there. So I don't have the data on Bitdeer, but we do obviously have Terawulf here, which we'll get into now. So high-level overview here is actually pretty good. So they self-mined 767 Bitcoin at Lake Mariner facility. This is their self-mining facility there, right? They also have Nautilus, which is part of their JV. No, excuse me. Revenue increased to 42.4 million. Obviously, that's good from 23.3 million of last year. Gross profit, exclusive of depreciation, increased to 28 million, which is good, obviously, compared to 14.4 million. So almost a double there. Actually, that would be a double, almost. Total installed hash rate capacity at Lake Mariner facility was 6.1 exahash, so that's obviously a nice increase of 205% from the same period last year. They announced new miner purchase and option agreement with Bitmain, including 5,000 miner S21 Bitcoin miners for a total price of 17.5 million, which has been fully funded, so that's good there. They also paid down some of the debt there as well in the last month, I believe in April. We'll see if we can find that there. The miners are expected to be delivered to Lake Mariner facility in the second quarter of 2024. The company has also made $9.6 million deposit on an additional 30,000 miners with secured pricing of approximately $16 per terahash. I'll have to see if I have those in there in the sheet. So before I forget, let me look into that and I'll see if I have it in there or not. I don't think I do. Yeah, I got the 5,000 that they are getting. I have this at actually 4,000. Why do I have this at 4,000? So I'll take a look into it, see what's going on there as far as what else I'm missing, because I did not see anything before about them getting the 30,000 miners. So I'll have to add that in there as far as what that could be. So I'll scour the financial report, see if I can find any information as far as what's the hash rate on those miners and things like that. But I'm guessing these are probably going to be like the 200 terahash miners, maybe the 232. They didn't provide the number or the name of them. But revenue obviously was pretty good. Gross profit, pretty good. Gross margin was 66% as well. Let's see here if they actually report. They probably have it down here. Also, I listened into the, let me see here. I listened into the conference call that they had today, which was pretty good. Obviously, they were poking in a couple of the miners that are not as a beta, I think, when you look at the non-GAAP beta numbers and things like that, where they might be a little bit higher than where Terawulf is on it. So I heard that. I also heard them talk about AI quite a bit. A lot of the questions in the conference call were around the AI. They said that they want to get to, wrote it down here someplace, 2 megawatts initially to put into AI, potentially, as they're kind of feeling their way around it. And then they also want to possibly expand that to maybe like 100 megawatts down in a couple of years, depending on how that growth is seen in that side of business, AI. So we'll have to see on that one. And I'm trying to see if there's anything here as far as their purchase here. Let's see. Yeah, 2 megawatt block here originally, and then they stated, I think, like 100 megawatts potentially, right? They haven't done anything as far as allocating that just yet. Yeah, and then we got the same thing here. So you guys can obviously read over this stuff here. Let's take a look at the numbers that I do have for them, and we'll get into the Q&A side of things. But overall, right, they're doing the right things. They're going the right way. They're paying down their debt, which is most importantly, right? And I think they stated they're down to like 74 million debt left after April. Don't quote me on that one, but I think somewhere around there. I'm going off my memory. But they're paying down the debt, which is good. Looks like they're getting newer miners as well. That's good there. So they're going to be growing their hash rate. I got to find the information on that though. And what else is going on there? They're increasing their revenues. Obviously, that's going to decrease here after the halving event because everybody's revenue is going to decrease unless Bitcoin really starts pumping. But they're doing all the right things, I think, and they're trying to be as judicious about their costs as possible on this. So, and they really do have a good cost of electricity as well. So, I think the ball's in their court right now. They just got to continue to execute, pay down the debt, and they'll probably do very well going forward. Okay, that's just my thoughts on it right there. But let's get into the numbers here that we do have here for Terawulf. So if we look at the numbers right now, and I think I'm using the latest numbers, probably not. Q4 shares. So shares did increase here to 331 million. So that's about a 31 million increase in the number of shares that we've seen here in the last quarter increase. And this was obviously as of May here. So the market cap is at 776 million right now based on stock price today of 233. Their performance over the last 12 weeks has been actually pretty good. It hasn't been too bad. They're up 32% from 12 weeks ago. They're up 9% from almost 10% from 8 weeks ago. They were down a little bit from 4 weeks ago, 2.6, and they were up last week, 1.83%. Okay. These numbers here we look at, obviously, all of their metrics as far as monthly productions are concerned, but here are the last 4 quarters of revenue. So we can see here that revenue has been increasing, which is a good sign, right? We always want to see that increase, which was good, obviously. And this is obviously only for their self-mining through Lake Mariner. This does not include Nautilus because Nautilus, they own less than 50% of that, so they can't include this in revenue. But that does help them with paying down debt and everything else like that. Okay. Current quarter, I'm estimating somewhere around 33, 34 million roughly, depending where Bitcoin price goes. We're halfway through the quarter right now. Once we get May numbers, we'll have probably better numbers on it as far as where that might end up at. But right now, this is kind of what we're looking at. Last 4 quarters operating costs minus depreciation, those have increased, but I think those have increased because their hash rate has also increased here. So I think that's contributable to that. A large portion of it is at least. Going down here, cost to mine 1 BTC, I think they reported 15,000, something like that. I'm looking at their numbers here, and we'll take a look at that number there, but I have them at about 18,000. I think that includes electricity and maybe some operational costs as well in that as well, right? But they've been kind of flat here, but I think that would obviously make sense if their hash rate increased, that their price, or their cost to mine 1 Bitcoin would go up. And then we've also seen, obviously, the network hash rate increase as well, so that's going to have an impact on it going forward. Bitcoin mine quarterly has been kind of up and down here, but it's been up obviously in Q1 as they installed more hash rate, right, which is always good to see. And then we're looking at their debt to equity ratio. Lower is better as always. We're seeing that come down, which is obviously really good here. Because if you look at Q2 of last year, they were at 1.2, obviously not good, but that has been coming down, so they're doing a much better job there. And then we're seeing also the current ratio increase, which obviously higher is better. We'd like to see that at least at 1, but it's improving, so that's a good sign there as well. Total current assets has decreased a little bit here to 54 million from 62.59 million. Not that bad. And then the total current liabilities decreased to 122 million from 154 million in Q1. So that's good. But I think they paid down some more in April as well, which is obviously a good sign there. Okay. Here's all the raw data that we have here. And like I said, I'll have to find out on the miners that they purchased. I didn't see any reports on that they purchased those, or I might have missed it. If I did, I'll try and find it. I'll try to get some data on it as far as what that would entail. But obviously, if they're getting 200 Teras miners and they're getting 30,000 of those, you need about 5,000. So they're possibly getting like an additional 6 exahash being added to it. So that would be really good there. That would get them to about 15 exahash or so total with JVs. Okay, going down here, we'll get into these numbers over here in a second. Current assets, obviously, like we talked about, they decreased a little bit here, or the cash at least decreased. But their total current assets decreased to 54 million from 62. Total assets actually went up to 395 million from 378. So that's good. Current liabilities, we can see here. Let's see here. Where do they have it? Current portion of long-term debt. Yeah, down to 99 million there. Accounts payables, 14 million of that. Accrued construction liabilities was 5.4. So that's obviously come down here. So that's good. And then the current portion of long-term debt being down to 99, and I think they paid down some of it. They're like at 74, like I said. Correct me if I'm wrong on that, but right around there. Total current liabilities is down to 122 million from 154, so that's good there. Total liabilities is 123 million from 155, so that's good. And then total liabilities and stockholder equity is up to 395 million from 378. And then here's where we have the revenue side of things. So 42.4 was for self-mining. JV, not sure what that came in at. Cost of revenues was 14.4 million. Obviously, that's an increase from the 8.9. And that's kind of what I'm using here for the cost of Bitcoin mining. On that one, self-mined, obviously 795, 786, something like that. Based on the numbers that we do have, also probably what they provided us with. Cost of operations here, that includes operating expenses related party, selling general administrative expenses, and obviously related party as well. That totaled 30.9 million here. Depreciation was 15 million, so it's nice that they actually take that out, or at least provide it separate from other things. And then total cost of operations was 30.34 million. On it, going down here, let me see, where was selling general administrative? So that actually went up quite a bit here. That's what I wanted to point out as well. It went up from 5.5 here at the end of Q4 to 12.289. I got to look into this, but I think that was attributable to stock-based compensation. But I got to look into it. But that's still pretty big there. If it wasn't for that, that'd be a lot better looking. Numbers there, going down here. Interest payments actually came in here at 11.045. Some of it is going to be cash, some of it is going to be something else as well. That was down to 9 here. Let's see here. Loss and extinguishment of debt. That's a new one. That was negative 2 million there. And then obviously net loss attributable to common stockholders was 9.89 million in loss, which was negative 3 cents per share compared to the 9 cents they had before. So they are getting better. They're getting closer to being profitable. And then obviously if you take out like depreciation, stock-based compensation, they would have been profitable at that point. Based on their just a beta that they provided here. Where was it? Where did I see that? Let's see. Revenue 42, gross profit exclusive of depreciation. I think they provided it up here someplace. Where did they do it? There it goes. Non-GAAP adjusted beta increased 95 over Q4 of 2023 to 32 million. Okay, so they should have been profitable at that point. If you take out non-cash expenses in there. All right, so that is it on Terawulf. Going up here, we can see that cost of mining minus depreciation came in at 18,000. Like I said, that's using cost of revenues. Enterprise value, 776 million right now. Debt to equity, we covered that. Current ratio, we covered that as well. Book value of equity assets, 272 million. Price to book ratio, 2.8. Enterprise value, market cap, debt, and all that's 776. EBITDA, I got 11.245. So I might be missing something there. I just took out interest expense and depreciation in that. And then EV to beta is 69. Let's see here. Revenue of self-mining was 42. General administrative compensation was 14.9. So that's 35%. That is trending downwards, which is good, right? Which is, I keep saying on a lot of these miners here, is that they have to reach scale. If they reach scale, some of these costs that they have are going to be a non-issue basically at that point. Because if you can increase your hash rate by at least another 2x or 3x from where they are right now, those costs are going to be, sub 10% of their overall operations, which is kind of what they really need to get to, and what other miners are ambitiously trying to get to as well. Marathon, Cleanspark, Riot, Bitfarms, all of those guys are trying to get to scale. Scale fixes a lot of these smaller issues that you see here. Okay, but that is it. Let me know what you think of it, and then always my sales pitch. Patreon members get access to all these spreadsheets and everything else I do. Link is down in the description for that. It's $8 a month. There might be a $5 or $4 tier as well that's open for you. If you find it, jump on it because you're obviously saving money there. And then if you're getting the annual subscription, you can save $10 a month as well. Okay, and you get access to the private Discord server as well. Okay, so that is it. Let's get into the Q&A side of things. See what you guys have. Any questions, comments, concerns. We'll talk about it obviously here and see where this takes us. Okay. Excuse me. Okay. Okay, here's a very good point here. So remember to buy the fear, right? I keep saying to you guys over and over that one of my most favorite quotes, I think it's from, what's his name? Warren Buffett. Be fearful when others are greedy, and be greedy when others are fearful. That's kind of the way I've been doing things in the last couple of years, and I love it because you definitely get better pricing. Now, if you're day trading and things like that, it doesn't really matter to you because you're going to be swing trading it anyways. Okay, first question here. With Bitfarms CEO leaving, what of the chances that Ben decides to leave besides Jeff leaving or not getting the CEO position or not liking the new CEO? Well, I mean, Ben's been there for quite a while. He's been there with like 9 years, and we've had, what, 2 or 3 CEOs since then? So I think he's going to stick around. I think he's probably well compensated for what he does. So, but that would be a concern, right? If Ben leaves, that might make me rethink whether or not I want to be invested in them. Right now, I'm still a little bit positive in them. So I'll take a 10%, 12% gain on it, get out of it, and put it in probably to like IREN or something like that at that point, see where that takes me. But that's, Ben leaving would not make me happy. What's your bear case for Bitcoin top of the cycle? Well, going back to, when did I do it? Probably like a year and a half or 2 years ago, I said that I think that Bitcoin possibly would go up to like 180,000 based on previous cycles where the bottom was to the top, and from the top to the bottom where things went. Did some analysis on that, did some math calculations, percentages, and I thought maybe 180,000 was going to be very doable this time around, right? Basically going from 69,000 up to 180,000 was roughly like 2 point something X increase, right? We're not going to see those 1,000% gains anymore in Bitcoin because as the value of Bitcoin has come up in price and value in general, you need less percentage gains to get much higher dollar value gains. Okay, so 180 was kind of where I was thinking probably a pretty good estimate, and I'm hearing a lot of people saying that 150, 180 might be pretty good. Some are saying we could go even higher than that, which would be a bonus at that point. But bear case, I'm thinking like 125, maybe 150 at this point. I think 100,000 is still definitely doable, and I definitely still think 180 is doable. But it also depends, I think, with the economy, things like that. Any economic downturns or things like that might have an impact on Bitcoin, right? Bitcoin was created out of the turmoil of the 2008 housing crisis and everything else, the banks failing and everything else. And ever since then, we've never had a recession, right? So Bitcoin has never gone through a recession. We don't know how that is going to react to a recession if we do have one. Now, I've said this before, if we do have a recession, I don't think it's going to be until maybe sometime in 2025. And at that point, we might be already past the bull run or getting close, getting maybe to the peak of the bull run at that point. So I think it won't have a huge impact like it would have had if we had a recession right now. Okay, that's kind of where I'm thinking on it. Hi Seb, what are your thoughts on Hive and BitDeer? Okay, Hive, I've had Hive for many years. I owned it since 2017, 2018 when I got into them. Dollar cost average down into them. Did not sell them in the 2021 bull run. Everybody was saying Bitcoin's going to 100,000. I held on too long. Lesson learned. But I sold them this past year in November, December, somewhere around there, because I just didn't see the growth that they were projecting going forward compared to some of the other miners like Bitfarms, IREN, Cleanspark, as well as others, right? So that's kind of where I put my money into those because I saw the growth there. But I do think that Hive is obviously very, very, very well run as far as efficiencies are concerned, operations, things like that. They're doing a great job there, along with balance sheets, all those things. So I think they'll do fine going forward, right? There's no worries with them. BitDeer, obviously they've been only public for about a year now. A lot of their growth isn't until 2025 as well. So based on that, just on the sake of growth, they also have a lot of older miners as well right now. And they're going to be updating a little bit of that come like Q3, Q4 this year. So there's not much growth for them. For that reason, I would not be getting into them. because I want growth, and we want growth actually this year more so probably than next year, because that's going to obviously help out when Bitcoin does actually top out, maybe sometime early next year, potentially. We don't know. But that's kind of what I would be looking at. How worried are you about Bitfarms, Sebastian? I'm not too worried, right? The biggest concern for us, I think, and for me, is the CEO. Who is going to be the CEO? Is it somebody that's obviously going to be beneficial to Bitfarms, to the investors, everything like that? Obviously, that's kind of what they want to get, but we'll have to see who they get. And I think their growth right now to 21 exahash is pretty much a done deal for the most part. They can screw it up, yes. But I think they can miss it by a little bit too, which wouldn't be a problem for me, right? If they get to 21 exahash, say in January or February of next year, not a big deal, right? We know things can get prolonged a little bit, right? Nobody's perfect on timing on those things. So that wouldn't be a big deal either. The biggest concern for me would obviously be them not being able to reach at least 10 exahash by June, right? They're saying that they're going to get to 10 exahash this month in May. By the end of the month, if they get close to that, if they get to like 9.5, okay, not bad. Even 9, that's not too bad. So I'm pretty lenient as far as those things are concerned, right? Because you're not going to get everything right 100%. But the big thing is who will be the CEO, and also is if we see Ben going someplace else, something like that, that would be a bigger, I think, red flag than anything else. But right now, at least their projected growth is pretty much punched in. Okay, so I'm not too worried about that. Right now, we're just having a lot of fun in stock. Let's see. Are you expecting a dip in the stock prices of miners when the lesser profitability of the halving take effect? I don't know. I don't know if I understand your question. Of the miners when lesser profitability of the halving takes effect. Are you talking about like well, hash price has already come down, right? We know that some of the older miners that are probably out there, like the 80, 90 terahash miners, those are coming offline unless they're at like 2 cents power or something like that. If they got 4.5, 5 cents power, they're probably unplugging there. That should make the network hash rate drop, which should then, in theory, obviously it should, also make the network difficulty drop. At that point, it makes the miners that are still mining a little bit more profitable at that point. And then it depends on Bitcoin. Bitcoin continues to go down. Obviously, that's going to have a consecutive impact on network hash rate, network difficulty. That's going to go down, making the miners still a little bit more profitable at that point that are able to mine at these levels. So I think we're still going to be possibly going sideways, down, up a little bit, up and down and all over the place for the next couple of weeks with Bitcoin, unless we get a good catalyst that actually pumps it up a little bit. Currently at 19,000 shares of Bitfarms. When you get to 21,000, you want to beat me? Yeah, I might be buying more if it dips below $1.40. So we'll have a little race. What did I miss that caused Cleanspark's bad day? Nothing. I mean, there's nothing really that happened for Cleanspark or any other miners that were down today. They were up in the green in the morning, and then they were down in the afternoon. So could have been just profit taken. Could have been also them pulling on the ATM, maybe. We don't know. Seb ain't losing hair over Bitfarms, right, buddy? Yeah, I don't have any hair to lose, so I'm not worried about that. I lost my hair a long time ago. I was going gray when I was 25, 26, and I started noticing a little bit more light back here when I was like 28, 29. So by that time, I'm like, time to shave. I'm not doing one of those comb over things, and that's not for me. Let's see. Okay. Greatest part of the announcement today was their new CEO search coming to an end. Well, we think it's coming to an end. Question, is it better for Bitfarms to settle or let a judge decide? We don't know the details as far as what went on there, as far as who's in the wrong. Obviously, Bitfarms is going to come out and say that they are in the clear on this, but we don't know the details in there of what really happened. So if they believe that they are not in the wrong, then they'll probably pursue this to get a judgment, basically expunge it or wipe it out, whatever, dismiss it. But if they are in the wrong somehow with their contract or whatnot, then they might be better off to settle, right? It doesn't admit guilt, but you're just settling it just to make it go away, basically. At that point, call it a day so you can concentrate on bigger and better things. see. Covered that one. Okay. Any thoughts on the huge sell volumes for Bitcoin tonight? Manipulation for something big tomorrow, maybe? Yeah, I mean, we saw that in the beginning. Within the last half an hour, 45 minutes or so, Bitcoin went crazy with the charts. Let's see how it's looking right now. If we look at it, there's Bitcoin. Let's take a look at the 15-minute. Yeah, I mean, that is pretty wild candles that we're seeing here. Something's happening here. I'm not sure what it is. We'll have to keep an eye on it, see what happens there. But that is kind of crazy. Okay. Okay. Hey guys, I bought Bitfarms at $10 Canadian in the last cycle. I'm not scared. Keep buying. There you go. Yeah, I was buying Bitfarms at $5 in 2022, right? And I continued buying it down lower. I didn't know where the bottom was going to be. I'll be honest with you guys. I didn't know where the bottom was going to be. So I just continued buying into it as the price went down. I knew this was going to be at least a 2 to 3, maybe 3.5, 4 years play on this. And I wanted to get as much shares as I could over the long time, right? I didn't have a lot of cash where I could just dump into it, which I'm thankful I didn't, because then I would have been at probably an average price of $5. So I just continually bought in as I could. And that's actually worked out pretty well for me with Bitfarms, Cleanspark, and now I'm starting to do that again with IREN. Let's see. Will you hold Cypher over Bitfarms? Cypher is also a great miner, but a lot of their growth isn't until 2025 as well, right? So that's the concern there. So for that reason, I didn't get into Cypher. Also, Cypher in the beginning had a big shareholder over their head, Bitfury, that had like 75% of their shares, right? And they sold 10 million at one point last year, and the stock just dived on that news. So you got to look at other things as well that are important there. Cypher's gotten into a better position with Bitfury, diversifying their shares to their shareholders and things like that. So it's a little bit more, it's a little bit less concentrated in just one entity owning 75%. So that's gotten better, and they're obviously having a pretty good growth rate here. Their their Black Pearl site is not going to be online until like 2025. Potentially, that's where a lot of their growth is going to be happening at that point. But I'm looking for more growth this year because we don't know if Bitcoin's going to possibly peak late this year or early next year as well. And you want all those machines to be plugged in as close to that as possible. See. Question, do you see Wolf doing good even though they have big debt and not growing their exahash like other miners? Yeah, I mean, they've been paying down their debt really well here in the last, basically, I would say 6-9 months or so. They've been doing a much better job. They've been actually growing in this time frame as well. And the guys that are there, Patrick, everybody else that's in that C-suite there, they're doing, I think, a great job of getting that stuff paid down and looking to grow the company going forward. But yes, their growth here is a little bit limited here this year. But they did announce they have 30,000 miners, which I think would be like an extra additional 6 exahash. But I got to look into it. I don't have the information on it, so I need to find out when those are coming in and what those are actually. But that would obviously give them some more growth potentially even this year. Let me see. How do you think Bitfarms earnings will do? I don't think they're going to be that great. They are, let's take a look at Bitfarms here. So we look at Bitfarms really quick on their numbers as well. If we look at it, I have them at right now approximately 49.6 million roughly. So that's only a 3 million increase, right? They're HODL. They don't use the FASB rules, so they really don't gain from the HODL that much. Obviously that will help their balance sheet and things, but they don't have that price appreciation there into their revenue side of things. So 3 million, and let's take a look at what they actually lost the prior quarter, which was, I believe, their year end. So the year end had bonuses and things like that, which were attributable to that as well. So it's going down here. Where's it at? There it is. Their loss for the quarter was 43.5 million, but that includes things like share-based compensation, depreciation, all that stuff. If we take out, we'd have to probably take all that stuff out to see. Selling general administrative was way up, 13.4 million, obviously here. Where's depreciation? I'm trying to find depreciation. There's depreciations over here. So that's 21 million of it, part of it. So that's, what is that? Yeah, minus depreciation was 21 million. Take out some other things. So they're going to be close. They're going to be close to maybe breaking even or if squeaking out, depending on what they put into their other costs, their fixed costs as far as SG&A, things like that. that's going to obviously make a determination whether they're EPS positive or negative on that. Do you expect IREN to beat or miss on earnings this week? I don't know what their earnings report was going to be or what their expectations were going to be on IREN, but let me take a look at their sheet as well. I can tell you that IREN, I'm looking for them to be at, here it is. I expect them to be around 53.9, so about 54 million. It is a nice increase from the 42 million here. So again, if we look at their numbers down below, down here, they lost Q2 or H1, they were down 8.2 net loss, a million. So they might actually have a pretty good good EPS here. They might be positive on it based on those numbers. Again, they don't hodl anything. They can't take advantage of the FASB rules. They're not in the United States anyway, so they can't do it. But they might be pretty close to that just based on this number alone. Okay, so it's going to be close, but they could be possibly positive EPS on them. Again, it depends on what they put into their SG&A, all those other things, other costs, anything else. Okay, let's go back to the Q&A. Let's see, okay. Okay, you guys have showing some averages on Bitfarms. Some of you guys are around in like the $2.53 range, which obviously you guys are in the red right now. So be patient on that. Somebody's recommending to sell a kidney. I wouldn't do that. You need your kidneys. Yeah, Ben, don't leave us. Let's see. Trying to find a question here. You guys are obviously commenting on Bitfarms. Sorry for the dead space. Trying to find something here. Okay, there we go. What do you think of Bitfarms earnings with CPI release at same day? It may be a short, short concern. Yeah, we'll have to see what the CPI data comes out at, right? If it's high, that's not a good sign for us, I think. If it comes in lower, that'll be a good sign for us potentially. So it all depends on that. I don't know which way it's going to go, really. It's been obviously trending up a little bit here, I think, in the last 2 months or something like that, just barely. But it's still up a little bit, I believe. So we'll have to see on that one. I don't know if that's going to impact it. Obviously, like I said, if it's high, it's going to be an impact because at that point, we may not get any rate cuts this year if that continues going forward. So that would not be good. Let's see. What are your thoughts on earnings for Wolf? Justified sell-off. How much did they sell off in the after hours? I didn't see that. Let me take a look here. But I don't have that data in here. It's not up on my thing anymore. How much did they sell off? I don't know if it's justified. I don't know if it was because of the conference call also, because of the AI stuff that they were talking about. Or in general, just, I mean, the growth was there, but it wasn't that great. And they didn't provide a positive EPS because exclude the other things that are in there that are non-cash, they would be probably a positive EPS. But even with those things included in there, they're not positive EPS. So I don't know if that made an effect on it. But we'll have to see. Let's see. Do you think Bitfarms is close to bottom price? I think it's probably getting pretty close. We were down, 8% today, roughly? Something like that. So it's probably getting close. I think once we get past some of this FUD, it'll bounce back. And that's as long as Bitcoin goes up, right? Bitcoin continues to kind of be flat for the next couple of weeks or something like that. We may have a little bit more pain, maybe a little bit more down pressure on the miners at that point. So something to be ready for. Could be, yeah. I mean, GameStop situation. Yeah, here we go. Does the GameStop situation hurt or help Bitcoin? Yeah, obviously, I don't know if you guys saw. Roaring Kitty was back on Twitter last night and today as well, putting out videos and things like that. And obviously, GME went up, like 70% or something like that today. Even higher at one point. And I think the trading on that got halted for a while. That was just crazy. It's unbelievable what one person can do to a stock, right? Just coming out there with a little picture of him, instead of casually playing video games, to now being really kind of attentive to what's going on, right? That's all he did. And then Jimmy takes off like a rocket this morning. It was just wild. So we'll see. I mean, imagine if that guy got into the Bitcoin miners and he started posting about them. Holy cow. Let's see. Do you think the ETFs are having a big impact on the miners? No. The people that were getting into the ETFs, I think it's still retail mostly driven, but it's people that didn't want to really get into getting into Bitcoin themselves. It could be also through their like 401k profit sharing plans, their retirement plans, things like that. That's kind of where they're buying it maybe. But I don't think that's having a huge impact. I think a lot of people are still in the miners because there is that leverage on the miners compared to just buying spot Bitcoin ETF, right? You can just buy Bitcoin itself. Why would you go with a spot Bitcoin ETF when you can do it yourself? But it's obviously easier. So there's that for it. What are the chances of a bigger crypto mining company like Mara buying Bitfarms? How would that change Bitfarms stock price? Okay, I think there's very little chance of that happening. Right? There's no reason for Marathon or Cleanspark or Riot or anybody else to buy out a company like Bitfarms. They would have to pay a huge premium on that, on what they have. Even going forward, they can buy infrastructure, buy miners at a much lower cost. Yes, there's something to say about time savings, right? You buy somebody out, you get that those infrastructure and everything else, but you would be paying a huge premium on that, and also you would be having to at least go up 30-40% from where the stock is right now. And then at that point, I don't even know if the investors or the board would agree to it, because if they believe that there's plenty more value than just 30-40% gain from here, they're more than likely not willing to sell at that point as well, right? You would have to almost do like a hostile takeover where you buy a bunch of shares of the company and say, hey, we're going to take you over at that point. And if they're doing that, they're going to be obviously driving the price of the stock up anyways. So I don't see that happening anytime soon. Yeah, Bitfarm market cap should be at least 1.5 billion. You have to pay $2 billion to buy them out. Yeah, I mean, I agree. You have to pay definitely a premium for that. Do you plan to sell your stock miners at the end of the bull run? If not, what percentage do you plan to sell? I do plan to sell. This miners, at least historically, have not been something that you'd want to hold on to for a long period of time, right? You want to ride them up through the bull run, sell them potentially. You're not going to get maybe the top of it, but sell into the top and out of the top as well, because you're not going to be able to predict exactly where the top is going to be. The only thing that's maybe different this cycle is Bitcoin could potentially go into this kind of prolonged cycle. That's a theory that's out there. That's a theory that I have also. That Bitcoin could go for like a prolonged period cycle where we don't have these huge gains and then huge drops like we've seen in the past, where maybe mirrors a little bit more like gold, and the ETFs came out for that, right? Where gold ETFs went up for a period of time. So we'll have to keep an eye on it, see what happens there. Nobody has a crystal ball. Nobody can tell you that what's going to happen exactly. Let's see. Is Riot a safer hold than Bitfarms? There's less FUD potentially around Riot. Riot has a healthier balance sheet. They have a bigger facility. The Corsicana is going to be 1 gigawatt there, right? So they do have plenty of growth there. The only thing is obviously with them is they got to fix their operations as well. So I think Riot would be a safer bet on that, right? But Riot's also priced higher. So if you're looking for potential where to deploy your capital to get maybe a better X return, right? Riot was going to be a safer bet, but you may not get that 10-15X potentially. I'm not saying it's going to happen to Bitfarms or any other ones, but that's kind of the way I look at things. Risk reward as well, and then just overall, how is the company running? How has the company been running? What have they been able to reach their targets and everything else on that side of things? Let's see. What is your bull case price prediction for Cleanspark this cycle? That obviously depends where Bitcoin's going to go, but my original price targets for Cleanspark for like the last 2 years has been $70, right? And that includes obviously them diluting, then obviously increasing their hash rate tremendously as well. So even if that's happening, that's pretty much stayed there because of that. But I think if Bitcoin goes up to 150,000, 200,000, maybe 250,000, like some are saying, at that point we're looking at maybe like $100, if not more, per share. Right, and that's if they can get to 32 exahash by the end of this year, right? If they can do that and then continue to grow into next year, getting to maybe 50 exahash, don't know exactly when. Hopefully the bull run might be end by then, but if they're doing the right things, the stock can definitely do much better. Do you anticipate Bitfarms to sell further down? Or are we close to the bottom? I think we're close to the bottom, right? It also depends on where Bitcoin is going to go in the next couple of days, couple of weeks. If Bitcoin stagnates where it's at right now, where it's range bound for a while or something like that, that's going to be put pressure on the miners as well. People are just maybe not patient enough to hold on for a longer period of time. They're going to be selling into something else. Especially, I think the mining companies could pay you a modest stipend for doing a lot of the competitive analysis work on their behalf. Yeah, I don't want to take any kind of money from any of the miners. I want to be independent as much as I can. And that's why I don't do interviews here. I do interviews on spaces where other people can also jump in, ask questions, things like that. I just want to keep a nice wall between me and them. That way I don't get accused of being paid and things like that. You guys obviously are the driving force. You guys are my bosses here. You guys help me out tremendously through Patreon and watching these videos. So I greatly appreciate it there. So I answer to you guys. I don't want to answer to the miners. So does it ever surprise you how easily sentiment changes in the space? A wise man once said, buy when there's blood in the streets, even if it's your own blood. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, sentiment can change quickly here. You get Bitcoin that pumps $5,000 in one day or something like that. And the miners are going, 2x of that, 3x of that. So sentiment definitely changes quickly here. And whenever we have this kind of prolonged, painful period, people definitely start to get more bearish on the miners and Bitcoin and everything else until something happens and it pops in and it's like, oh, Bitcoin's going to the moon. We start getting those rocket emojis again. So yeah. Let's see here. If there was an M&A with a larger company buying Bitfarms, would we be likely outcome for shareholders? Okay, what would be the outcome for shareholders of Bitfarms? Well, you'd get a premium on your shares, right? So anytime there's a merger, well, I don't know if about a merger, but I think an acquisition. At that point, well, I mean, we could take a look at the merger that we had with Hut 8 and USBTC, right? That didn't really work out too well for the shareholders. So the stock did pump a little bit on the news, but after that, shareholders are down on that. If we have a buyout, actually, then that would be obviously beneficial. You get at least somewhat of a premium on it. We don't know exactly what that would be, but you would get a premium. Let's see, how red was your portfolio during the bear market? Give us some face Fusha tongue out. Yeah, I mean, I was down. So I was buying Cleanspark at $9 in 2022. January, Bitfarms at $5 as well in January 2022. Obviously, we were going down. So I was down like 80% on Bitfarms at one point, 60-70% on Cleanspark at one point. So wasn't a great feeling at that point. But I also knew that this was short term, a year out, 2 years out, things were going to look a lot bit different. And that was basically a best buying opportunity that I could get into. So I look at it more positively than that instead of going, oh, it'd be one thing if I needed the cash, right? The cash that I was putting into this was extra. It's like, it's not going to make or break me. My kids are going to get obviously all the things that they want and need and food on the table, roof over their heads. So it wasn't anything that would jeopardize the living conditions or the living standards that my family has become used to. This was all extra that I was able to put away into it. So I wasn't worried about that part then. Bull case price for Bitfarms, 90 cents maybe, right? We may be coming down to that potentially, just to drop back down to there. That would be probably my bull case on it. And at that point, I would be buying more. Let's see. Where do you get the money to invest? I live below my means. And then also, I'll be honest with you guys, this YouTube channel in the beginning and the Patreon members, in the beginning, I was actually getting like $200 a month for 250. I think my best month in 2022 was like maybe $300, something like that. So it's not a lot. It was just enough to cover maybe the electricity, internet, and my heat here in the wintertime. So I wasn't making anything, and I was basically working for free for a long, long time. Recently, it's gone up a little bit more here. So that's helping things out. But living below your means, right? Don't go out there and buy the Starbucks coffee for $5 a cup. Make your own at home. Don't go out to eat, right? Make your own food at home as well. So live below your means as a way to do it where you can have a good, comfortable life and put money away so you can also invest. Let's see. On that note, and then I apologize for my joke earlier about potentially getting a stipend from them. Not a big deal, right? Let's see. Covered this one already too. Where do you get the funds to invest in miners? Yeah, just living below your means. Let's see. Do you mind to share what happened between the saga and Bitfarms, between CEO and the company? What was the trigger and result? CEO suing the company? We don't know. We'll have to find out maybe in court documents or something like that what the details are. I'm guessing maybe it was a power struggle between the CEO and the board, and obviously the CEO lost. Maybe the CEO thought he had more friends on the board than he did, and he lost there, or who knows what it could be, right? I'm guessing just maybe a power struggle. Probably the best outcome of it all. So I don't want to speculate anything else on that. From historical data, what's your estimated month or so when you see Bitcoin and the miners take off later this year? Yeah, I think historically, usually are like the best months are like September, October, November, right around that time frame. We'll have to see how it plays out, but that's kind of usually when. Also, after the halving events, Bitcoin kind of goes sideways a little bit or down for a couple of weeks to a month or two, and then things start to pick back up. So that might be happening here, right? Bitcoin is obviously, we're only now getting close to being a month out, so 4 weeks past the halving event. I kind of expected this. Out of Bitfarms and IREN, which one do you like more for price appreciation? Well, I think they're both very undervalued right now. Maybe Bitfarms a little bit more so, just recently because of the flood that's happening out there. But we'll have to see on that one. I'm expecting they're both going to do at least really well. Bitcoin goes up to 150,000. They're going to both probably 5 to 10x. Right? Which one's going to do really well? Who knows? It depends on which one is able to build out their infrastructure faster and grow their hash rate, I think, at that point. Yeah, probably possibly that way. If you had to pick one miner to invest this year which miner? Oh, then depends on which one you're looking at as far as, are you looking for growth? Are you looking for one of the best miners that's done so far and is growing pretty well? I mean, there's a couple ones that you could take a look into. I would say just stick with the miners that are growing really well. This year into even next year a little bit as well. Good operations, so that kind of leaves you with Cleanspark, IREN, Bitfarms, possibly Cypher as well. Cypher doesn't have much growth here this year. IREN, like I said earlier, I think. And then you got kind of the plays on fixing operations, which would be Marathon and Riot combined there, right? They're both having to fix their issues that they have at the facilities, and they're building out newer facilities and growing further. So those, I mean, Marathon also has name recognition. They've done really well last cycle. We'll see if they do that again this cycle. Obviously, this cycle we're seeing that CleanSpark is kind of becoming the favorite out of maybe all the miners recently because they've just been outperforming everybody. So it's tough to say which one's going to do really well on that one. That's why I'm kind of diversified into at least 3 miners, and I also have the WGMI ETF in my 401k profit sharing plan because I can't invest in individual stocks there, but I just don't know which ones are going to do really well here. So far, CleanSpark has been the clear winner for me, at least. Let's see. Let's see. Do you hold ETH? I don't. 25% discount versus spot. If ETH ETF is approved, this would be an easy money. Yeah, I mean, that's if it gets approved. There's some questionability of whether or not it's a security or not on that one. So we'll see. What's your average What's your average purchase price for IREN? Thank you for your live streams and videos. Appreciate the thoughtful discussion. Yeah, you're very welcome. My average is like $5 something. Let me see if I can pull it up here really quick. See what it is actually. Let me see here. Let me look at that. I don't want you guys to see all my investments in here and what I got them at, but let's see here. Iris Energy shares. So I don't have a lot of shares. I have 651 shares of it. My average price is $4.11. So I'm actually up 18% on that one. So I want a dollar cost average and more into that one as well. And the stock price right now is at $4.85. So I'm pretty close to where my average is. So I think that would kind of make sense to dollar cost average and some more. Let's see. What kind of multiples do you anticipate from ETFs like WGMI, BTIQ, BKCH, etc.? I think they're going to do at least 2 to 3x of what Bitcoin does, if not maybe more. It all depends on the miners that they do have in there. I know WGMI has like Cleanspark in there quite a bit, IREN as well. And they also have like Stronghold and Argo in there as well, which I'm like, why do you guys have those? I mean, those might pump pretty well if Bitcoin goes up well, but I would just stick with the best in breed, I think. But that's just my opinion. Would any option be good for Hut 8 tomorrow? They do have a huge hodl position. That's going to help them, I believe, with their numbers. If they're reporting tomorrow, I'm not sure. I think they are reporting tomorrow. But the FASB rules will be a good thing for them, right? The big thing for them, I think, is, and what investors are kind of looking forward from them is future hash rate growth, right, for self-mining. They're being a little hesitant about it. Maybe rightfully so, maybe not. But it looks like the market, at least, and investors don't view it that way. They look at it as there's not really much growth going forward. So if you look at the market cap of the company and what their hodl value is, it's like 80% of the market cap is the hodl value right there. So not being valued on their operations on that one. Let's see, what's your average price for Bitfarms? It is $1.43. Yeah, so I'm still in the profits just slightly. Definitely, it was much better. I was up like 100 some odd percent, almost 150% at one point earlier this year. That's obviously coming back down. And I've been dollar cost averaging more into it this year as well. Let's see. If you see 4x to 5x for Cleanspark, the rest of the cycle on Bitfarms 5 to 10x, why not move more with Bitfarms? That's a good question. Mainly because my cost on Cleanspark is so low, right? Another 4 to 5x from here is going to be so much sweeter going forward. All right, I can tell you guys I'm already up. I'm still up 350. What is it? Okay, so it's down a little bit. I'm up 338% in Cleanspark still right now. My average on Cleanspark is 355. All right, that's a very, very low average, and that's because I've been buying for the past 2 years. So for me, even if it goes up another 4, what do you say? 45x. So 5x from where it's at now at $15. What is that? That's $60, $75. Kind of like where my estimates were for it to get to, like right around $70. At that point, I'm going to be sitting pretty well. And at that point, I know I'm going to be able to time the top perfectly. So I'll be selling out of it as obviously we're getting really, really close to maybe where the top is. Don't know. I'll be selling before then a little bit and afterwards as well. But that's kind of the plan there. Okay. I think we are all caught up here and we've been going for about an hour. All right, guys. So that's it. Hope you guys enjoyed it, obviously. Thank you so much for coming in to watch this video. Really appreciate you guys. If you guys do enjoy this type of content, hit the like button, subscribe. Helps me out tremendously. And what else is going on here? Tomorrow, we'll see obviously what happens tomorrow. Who else reports? We'll wait obviously for Bitfarms to report on Wednesday now. They were supposed to report today, but the firing of the CEO screwed everything up. We were also hoping to get Ben on with Bryce McNally and Anthony on their channel. They were going to ask him if he's actually interested in being the CEO for them. We didn't get that. They're trying to get him back on after they report maybe. So we'll see. A lot of stuff going on obviously right now with the reporting and everything else. Bitcoin kind of being sideways. Just got to be patient, I think. Okay? I'm patient. I'm looking to buy in some more if I can. But that's it. So we'll see what happens tomorrow. We'll obviously do another live stream tomorrow, and we'll go from there. Okay? So I wish you guys a great night. Thank you again, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Until then.